I would have to be a part-time student. So one thing I definitely regretted not doing while I was in my bachelor's was travel more, to study abroad. I did not study abroad whatsoever. I did do 2 summer internships within Taiwan during my bachelor's, but that was basically it. And then second, I did not want to be a part-time student. I definitely wanted to be a full-time student. The nice way of saying it is I like a work-life balance, but honestly, I'm just lazy. So I just decided I want to definitely pursue my MBA full-time. So the first thing I definitely did was do some research into MBA programs in Taiwan. Because my parents are from Taiwan and most of my relatives are from Taiwan, I had my connections here and was interested in staying here for a longer term. And obviously, first two points, I guess, are more applicable to international students. The first one being that this was an English-taught program. I know some conversational Chinese, but definitely not fluent enough to do academic studies in Taiwan, in Chinese. Second, obviously, since now I am footing the bill for my MBA degree, the tuition rates were definitely a lot cheaper here than if you had to do an MBA in the US. Here, I could basically pay everything with all my savings, while in the, if I took the degree in the US, I would have to definitely take out a lot of loans. So, and then third of all, since my original plan, now with Trump being president, we'll see if I want to go back. The original plan was to go back to the US to work right after I graduated from the IMBA program. So the nice thing about this was that it is NCCU is accredited by the ACSB, which is American Accreditation Program, as well as kind of its European counterpart. And then I love that it had a global focus with a diverse student body, professors, but also an emphasis on Asia. So once I got into the IMBA program, there were definitely a few things that I didn't expect from it. The first one definitely being that there are definitely kind of 2 formats within the IMBA program of how the classes are structured. The first is weekday evening classes for 3 hours during weekdays. And then the second one are more intensive weekend courses where it could be a half day or a full day of class. So this was definitely a lot different than the classes and structure I'm used to in the US, where lectures will be an hour and a half, and then we get to go home, take a break. There's pros and cons to it. Obviously, you're stuck in a classroom for a lot longer, but at the same time, especially for the part-time students, the weekend courses, especially if you take those intensive weekend courses, you could finish 1 course within less than a month. So the second is I definitely knew within an MBA program that is more focused on group work and presentations. But I guess what I didn't expect was that you needed actually to be really good at time management. Because our class is so diversified, we have about probably half of the student body is full-time students, half of the student body is part-time students. So with part-time students especially, they do not have as much time, for obvious reasons, to work on on our group presentations and group work. So it was a lot of shuffling of schedules and back and forth. Oh, can we do this time? Can you do this time? No, 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 no. So it was a great practice in time management. But while in the IMBA, my first year in the IMBA program, there were a few activities that I definitely really loved about this program. The first is the leadership and team building class. So this is a required course that all IMBA students in the NCCU have to take. It's a weekend-long summer boot camp that they bring all of the incoming class together into a hotel. For my year, it was just nearby in Taipei, but then there are a lot of not only lectures, but team-building exercises, and it kind of brings everyone together to connect, network, break the ice. So once we start our normal classes in the IMBA class, you are not as alone. You actually recognize and are familiar with the people in your class. The second one is I participated in the 2014 Full Prize competition. It was actually held right here in NCCU, and it's actually in this lecture room. So for that year, I obviously did not win, but obviously one of our crowning moments is that a group from our class, actually from the class before us, won that competition. So another thing that I loved about it is the extracurricular activities that the student body or just students do outside of class. So there are definitely company visits within our courses, but there's also there were always a few that the student council would help us. So first was one of the big ones was Go Girl in my class. So so when I decided to do the IMBA program, I wanted to do more studying abroad. So my first initial plan was actually after my first year in the IMBA program, I wanted to do some exchange program within Asia, either China, Japan, or Korea. When I'm probably in the minority, I actually did not know that the IMBA really had this dual degree program coming in. So I vaguely remember reading something about, oh, IMBA offers this dual degree program, but I had no idea what it was. I just kind of ignored it and put it onto the wayside. But once I started thinking about applying for exchange programs, people were talking about this dual degree program with friends in Germany. So I looked into a bit more, and definitely one of the biggest things that jumped out to me was the University of Mannheim. So obviously, everyone knows probably by now, you get 2 degrees at the end of when you graduate if you're in this program. The first one, the IMBA degree from NCCU, and in Mannheim's case, you get the MMM degree, which stands for the Mannheim Masters in Management degree. So they are actually triple accredited, and it's definitely while NCCU is very prestigious school within Taiwan, especially, but also within probably Asian network. Obviously, Mannheim is prestigious, probably more internationally recognized, which is something I definitely like about this program. Also, another thing was that I never actually been in Europe before, much less Germany. So it was an excuse to go to Germany and then also travel around in Europe. So once I arrived in Mannheim, there were definitely a few bumps more than my transition to Taiwan, because I am an ABC. I am kind of familiar with Taiwan's culture and Taipei. While in Mannheim, I'm just kind of plopped there and clueless. I did not know any German. So the first thing I was kind of surprised on, I had the impression that most Germans, their abilities in English were higher than in Taiwan. Yeah. So, well, in academia and in the university, that is definitely the case. And even I think on average, I think the German population, their English abilities are a bit higher. It doesn't mean they are willing to use their English or help you when they find out you do not know any German. So there were some struggles there. In general, though, most people are happy to help even if you're struggling with German. Also, another big challenge was to find housing. So unlike in Cologne, actually in Mannheim, most likely your living expenses, even including housing, will be more expensive than Taipei. The problem is they don't give, the school itself does not give priority to international students. So we had 3 people from my class go to Mannheim through the dual degree program, and only one, which was not me, got into the housing in our school. So us other 2 students had to go find our own housing, and it proved to be quite a struggle. I was pretty lucky. By the time before I got to Mannheim, I was able to find housing, but my other classmate was not so lucky, and she ended up sleeping over at my place for 2 weeks to find housing. The problem was basically, 1, that you're a foreigner, and 2, that sometimes a lot of people were looking for people that were staying longer in Germany than the 1 year that I would be there. And then I guess in terms of studying and the school life there, Mannheim is definitely more academically challenging, I guess, than the IMB program. Since, you know, they are the #1 business school in Germany, you would think definitely they are more strenuous in their academic life. And then also it was definitely a big exercise on self-motivation because in most German universities there actually are no homework assignments. There are no group work, there's a lot less group work, and really no presentations or group reports. And then your final grade then is determined by just one exam at the end of the semester. So, especially my first semester, I was like, oh, yay, no homework, don't need to study. And then 2 weeks before the exam, you're like, I don't know what's going on. So definitely that first semester was a big adjustment period. But there were a lot of definitely positives about staying in Mannheim. I participated in a lot of activities. I forgot to mention, but like there are definitely a lot of workshops, company visits that Mannheim offers. I took the German language course, which is provided by our school. In our case, it was not 100% free. We had to pay, I think, either $10 or $20 deposit for that class. And then there's also an international career fair every semester. It lasts for about 3 days, and there's a lot of big international companies that participate in this. A few of note: Alliance, JP Morgan, DSF, VW. So it's a great chance to, if you want to work, even probably with Asia, but it's more focused on if you want to work within Europe, to go there and get your resumes sent out and network. And then definitely Mannheim is much more research focused. So the one thing I loved about this program was that we were required to take a seminar course, so which is quite a bit different than the IMBA program. So the seminar course, basically you decide which professor you want to write your master thesis under in Mannheim, and you have to take the seminar course before you can write your master thesis. And they basically go from from 0 to the end of writing a mini thesis. So how to decide on a research topic, how to do the literature review, how to write academic paper, and all the formatting and citation issues. So by the end of the course, you are well prepared for writing your master thesis. And then, of course, while I was in Mannheim, I traveled within Europe. So both the IMBA program, or if you decide to do the dual degree program, is a lot of work, but there is definitely a lot of fun involved with this program. And these are just kind of a few pictures of all the things I did. I'm not a big selfie taker, so these are all taken by other people. But these are just a few things that happened along my journey. And thank you for listening. And on behalf of the IMBA program, I hope to see you soon.
Okay, so before we break for lunch, I'd like to introduce you to Lichi, the program's executive secretary, and also Emily. Emily is also in the IMBA office. She's in charge of the dual degree programs. So if you have any questions now, you can ask, or later on approach any of these two ladies. They will give you the best information that you can. I'd also like to introduce you to a few other alumni that are joining us. They're Daniel and Judy, yes, and Albert and Caroline. Yes, Caroline is there, Albert is here. All of us will be over lunch. Feel free to come and approach us, the alumni or the current students, and ask anything that you want to know about the program. I'll try to take small bites so I can answer without and
I know that's not true.
Can I ask you one? Judy works for Acer, and Judy works for Acer. If you're a specific interest of experience, you can go for her. And also, Caroline works for Nestle. No, Philip. Okay, Nestle. And our for Delta, and he's the one travel around, meet people at the international airport. So, yeah.
Do you have any questions to Richie or me? And then sign up for it outside. Okay, so let's go and have something to eat.